Okay, let's get right into it. So, in the last lecture, I said that there are two dominating methodologies, plan-driven and agile. And in this course, what we're going to be looking at are core concepts of project management, things that apply to both methodologies. And we start with the project lifecycle. It's typically made up of 5 stages: initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, and closing. So in the initiating phase, we're getting to know about the project. So essentially, we're getting to see what is the scope of this project, what's the business case, roughly what is our budget for this project. We're getting to know all about it at a very high level as well. This is where we put together a project charter, and we're going to talk about project charters in a little bit. This is where we get to know who the team is, who's the team that's going to be working on this project. It's all sort of the defining phase of the project, the very beginning. Once we know that, we can get into planning. Right, let's get into drawing up a schedule. Let's get into identifying risks. Let's get into identifying the costs that we're going to need to spend. Resource management, all the little details. How well you plan is how well you execute, which is our next stage, execution. Now, a lot of people, when they think about project management, they immediately think about the execution stage. They immediately think of people on site in construction with a project manager standing there yelling orders. This is actually the middle stage after initiating and planning. If you plan well, you're going to execute well, right? So don't take shortcuts in planning, because execution is the commissioning phase, is when you're actually delivering deliverables, creating deliverables. And while you're executing, you are also monitoring, controlling. Monitoring, controlling is all about defining metrics that you can use to tell you how you're performing. Hey, am I, for example, on track? What's my quality like? Am I producing good quality outputs? Am I producing what the customer is expecting? Am I meeting deadlines? These are all metrics that are involved in the monitoring and controlling phase. You're trying to make sure that you're delivering on time and delivering within budget and delivering what the customer wants. And finally, closing. Closing isn't simply saying, all right, well, we've built your house, off you go. No, there needs to be signing off on contracts. There needs to be handing of documentation. So you've developed an app. How do I use it? How do I get into the back door to figure things out? There needs to be documentation, training for the client, handing the project over to the client, showing them how they're going to proceed from this project into the operations phase. Remember the difference between projects and operations. How they're going to run their day-to-day tasks using the deliverable we created here through this project. So 5 really, really important stages of the project lifecycle. Now, with any project, you're always limited by certain constraints, and more specifically, scope, time, cost, and quality. And it's always tricky to know how to balance these items together, right? Because if you say, for example, that I'm going to keep adding things to my scope, to the scope of the project, what we call scope creep, and we're going to talk about later as well. I keep adding things to the scope of my project. The client keeps demanding new things. Well, the time is going to increase. The cost is going to increase, right? All of these work together. Scope, time, cost, and quality. And you need to make sure that you know how to balance each of these items, when to make sacrifices or trade-offs, right? Sometimes you need to make a sacrifice. Sometimes you need to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to take a bit of a hit on cost. I'm going to spend an extra $5,000, but I need to, because I need to compress my schedule here. I need to shorten the time of this particular activity, to shorten the time of the project. So you're always making decisions as a project manager to find that perfect balance between these items. Okay, we'll stop it here and we'll see you on the next one.